Arctika Sub-Zero has joined Mortal Kombat Onslaught, but just how good is he? We're going to talk about all that and more, so let's get into it. Today we're doing a deep dive on Arctika Sub-Zero. Now for this video I'm going to change up the format a little bit. In the last one I was very precise. This time I'm just going to be pretty loose, just give some general summaries and try to move this along. And you guys can let me know which format you prefer in the comments below. But alright, let's get right to it. Alright, so I've got them pulled up on mkonslaught.com, which is Meta Companion Onslaught. It is a companion website for the game created by both myself and, of course, the coding god Krasy. So if you would like guides, infographics, a stat table, and all that, head to mkonslaught.com. We've got a bunch of good stuff up there for you. So looking at Arctika Sub-Zero, as far as his tags, he's Spirit, Defender, Melee, Physical, Earth Realm, Lin Kuei. As we talk more and more about this character, you'll see that some elements of his abilities and his gear are a bit contradictory. And what I mean by that is some of the things about him suggest he wants to be a primary tank, some of the things about him suggest that he wants to be an off tank or a bruiser, and some things about him suggest that he wants to be built full damage. So he's a little bit difficult to pigeonhole, and we'll get into why. But yeah, as far as his tags, he's a defender, and his stats are the same. He actually has exactly Goro's stats, which are some of the best in the game. The only character with more health than these two is Undying Shao Kahn, so he's way up there for health. His defense is up there. It's not the absolute highest. I think he's just outside the top 10, but still very high for defense. Built into his abilities is a way to gain a lot more defense, which is what you expect from a defender. As far as his attack, he actually has pretty moderately high attack. He's certainly not number one or anything like that, but he's got pretty high attack, higher than most. So super quick rundown on his abilities. His first auto ability is a 3-hit attack combo. The last couple of hits do AoE and they apply a special charge debuff. Then he has two passives. The first says that anyone targeting him has their special charge rate reduced by a percentage. So that suggests he wants to be a primary tank because the more people hitting him, the more he reduces their special. And he also gains more defense based on how many targets are attacking him. So again, it sounds like he wants to be the primary tank with everyone attacking him because he can gain the most possible defense and he can reduce the most enemy targets special meter. His other passive is a really nice ability for saving teammates. Basically, a certain number of times per match, if a teammate's going to take more than 20% of their health, he will instead take the damage, but he'll negate some of it, so he won't take as much damage, and then he has a chance to freeze the enemy who launched the attack. So, pretty useful. But really, his standout ability is definitely his ultimate, which is a blizzard that does a significant amount of area of effect damage, and if there are any enemies within the blizzard that have that special charge debuff, he is going to extend the duration of that debuff, and at level 7, if any of the enemies attacking him have more than 75% of their special meter, they just get frozen. Pretty strong. Alright, now we're going to talk about his gear, but the interesting thing is that you can build him a few different ways, and it actually depends on how you plan to use him. He doesn't have a very clearly defined role, because he does things that other people can do equally well. So, for example, you can build him as a main tank, which would mean that you'd want to give him health, defense, and tenacity. He certainly has the ability to act as a main tank, although I do think that you would really only want to use him as your main tank if you did not have Undying Shao Kahn, as Undying Shao Kahn is still a little bit better of a main tank. But Arctika Sub-Zero is qualified to do that job. If you didn't want to run him as main tank, you can run him as an off tank where you want to build him as a bruiser, which means you want to give him health and attack, just like you would Goro. You want to make sure that he has the damage to contribute since he's not being a primary tank, but if you give him health, you're leaning into the massive health stat that he already has, and you can rely on his kit to boost his defense further. Alternatively, the third way you can build him is full damage, where you can give him an attack set and crit. And this would be if you just wanted to use him for PvE speed clearing, specifically Quan Boss Tower, where even if you build him full damage, he is tanky enough to get that done, and you want to enable him to clear it as fast as possible. So to recap, how should you build him? If you don't have Undying Shao Kahn, you want to go full tank. if you're trying to replace a 4-star on your team with Arctika Sub-Zero, but he's going to be your off tank, then you want to build him like a bruiser. And if you're just going to be using him where I feel he shines best, which is in PvE, then go ahead and build him full damage. As far as which relics you want to give him, this also depends on how you plan to use him. Arguably, his best relic is going to be his Fatality Relic. It comes with a really nice effect that allows him to rapidly recharge his ultimate ability, which is pretty big, and it gives him a ton of offense. The problem with that being that if he's going to be your main tank, he will be a less effective main tank if you're giving him offense. Aside from a little bit of flat health, his Fatality Relic is just giving him attack, percent attack, and crit chance percent. So if you are trying to use him as a tank, your best option is going to be the Dramon's Mask, followed by the Kefala Clarion, because those are going to give him the highest amount of health. There is a case to be made for the Edenian Throne, being that it gives him a ton of defense, which his kit also does for him. So if you have really good defensive gear, and you can get his defense stat really high, you can give him an Edenian Throne and let him just generate a ton of defense and try to essentially be a damage reduction tank. Alright, so as for who he counters and who's going to counter him, being that he's Spirit, he's obviously a really good answer to Mind characters. He can tank a Mind Sniper like Sindel for quite some time, but where he really shines is against a bunch of melee enemies that are all going to clump up around him, because not only will he be gaining a ton of defense and reducing all their special charge, but then when he sets off his AoE from his ultimate, he's going to do damage to all the targets around him. So really, the more melee enemies, the happier he is. Even as an off tank, he just wants to run into the middle of the crowd and just melt them all with his ultimate. So he's really strong in a melee regardless of affinity. As for who counters him, it's obviously going to be body damage dealers, especially ranged body damage dealers. So characters like Deadeye Aaron Black, ironically Frost, and other ranged body damage dealers are going to chip away at him the quickest and the safest. Alright, now I just want to show you some footage, firstly of him in Arena alongside a meta team, then alongside his Lin Kuei teammates for some interesting synergy there, and finally against Quan Boss Tower. Alright, so this first clip, you'll notice I'm facing off against Kraywix, I think that's how you say his name, so it's a 120,000 threat punch-up, and I mainly just wanted to show, can Arctika Sub-Zero hold his own against powered up 5-star enemy characters? So that's really all I was trying to demonstrate here, just throwing him on a meta team and seeing if he takes the place of one of the current top meta characters in the arena. Is he going to be noticeably better or noticeably worse? And as expected, he performs about the same. He really is incredibly similar to Goro. For all intents and purposes, in most instances, you can just use him as a replacement Goro or as a second Goro, which is kind of what's going on here. Now you'll notice he has no trouble tanking a Razor Hat Kung Lao. He had Sindel backing him up on damage, but he can tank that all day. So Razor Hat revived from the Kamidogu and is now attacking him again, and he's still tanking him without much trouble. And since I know that he's going to die from AoE, I don't even bother aiming the Sindel ult at him. My mom likes to crash my recordings, by the way. I'm not sure how she always knows when I'm recording, but anywho. So unfortunately he got taunted and then he got flamed by Goro, so he wasn't actually able to use his ultimate, but now he's tanking an Oni, and again, he's just taking the hits pretty well. He's slowly being whittled down because he doesn't have any self-healing or anything, but he absorbs hits pretty well. His strength is really in his ultimate though. It just does so much more damage than it should, especially considering that he's a tank. But with Sindel's help, we finally take out both the Oni and Deadeye, and then we go ahead and freeze and ultimately take out this Undying Shao here, at which point he gets flamed by Goro again. I don't have my Deadeye on the team in this clip, so I don't have the Kamidogu that would revive him, but I would say that he got us far enough in this fight. So this next clip I wanted to include is to showcase how effective he is in a wombo combo. So I was actually trying to test Lin Kuei team synergy, which is why I have Cryomancer Lin Kuei on the team, but by no means is she a top choice or a must include. I just wanted to see how the characters work together with the synergy. But what I inadvertently learned from this is that if you set off a bunch of AoE ults at the same time, you do just a preposterous amount of damage, as you're about to see. So Frost will always go first, which is nice because she can basically set everyone else up by making sure no one ults and messes anything up and lock them all in place. Cryomancer actually does the same thing. She fires a freeze and it has some splash, but as soon as you set off Arctika and Goro's ults, you'll notice all three of those characters just get annihilated immediately. The wombo combo damage is really, really impressive. So I wanted to make sure I included that in this video because I do think there's a lot of potential for teaming Arctika Sub-Zero up with other characters that do AoE damage so that you can just melt large swaths of enemies all at once, which is also what makes him particularly effective when it comes to Quan Chi Boss Tower, which is what you guys are going to see next. But the rest of this clip is just a testament to how incredibly tanky Undying Shao Kahn is as he proceeds to tank 4 people and make it look easy. It doesn't help that one of those people is Cryomancer Lin Kuei, not hitting him particularly hard, but even so, eventually we are able to bring Yu Xiao down and take out our frustration as far as how long it took to kill him by putting an exclamation point on it. And finally, I of course wanted to show how he performs in Quan Chi Boss Tower. So a lot of people think this is the toughest boss tower, and this is stage 6, so it is definitely very, very difficult. I think only a very small handful of players have actually managed to 3-star this. I have 3-starred it before, but I wanted to show that he is easily able to slot in on a top 4 character spread for this stage effectively. So it's playing at 2 times speed because the stage can be a bit long, but he has a few things going for him. Although normally Quan Chi is not mined, Quan Chi Boss is a mined character, so spirit characters are particularly effective against him. So Arctika has that going for him, and also, as we've discussed, he does tremendous AoE, and AoE is incredibly valuable for getting rid of all these Oni. You're about to see, actually, Arctika is gonna use his ultimate and clear out these Oni with Goro's help as quickly as they can. Raiden is also there because he does really good AoE, but yeah, it's just about basically how fast you can mop up the Oni and get right back to beating up Quan Chi. And so Scorpion is there because he's got a really nice big chunk for Quan Chi, but again, Arctika, especially with his Fatality Relic, being able to regularly reset his ultimate effectively, allows you to get a nice quick clear. So this one we cut it pretty close, but we were able to bring him down, as you can see, in 1 minute and 29 seconds. Now the interesting thing to point out here is I did have a damage gear set on him, but you'll notice everyone on the team did about 1 million to 1.1 million damage, and easily my best attack set was on Raiden. So this makes me think that if I gave Sub-Zero my really, really good attack gear, he would have been the highest damage on the team, and that's impressive. Alright, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Please be sure to drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment for the algorithm. If you have any questions, obviously leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. But otherwise, again, thanks for checking this out, and I will see you guys real soon. Until next time, peace!
For the Lin Kuei.